Welcome back, everyone, and we want to welcome our friends back from FantasyFootballStarters.com. Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing good.
Very nice to see you. We haven't seen each other since the playoffs,
after the Super Bowl,
since the heartbreak. I still can't discuss it. Let's not discuss. But today we do want to talk about this coming season, and we're going to start, Russ, by talking about free agency trades.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to jump in on the free agency stuff because that's the homework that I did carry.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, you know, free agency already. We talked after the end of the season how coaches changing positions and moving to teams. There's been 11 head coaching changes in the NFL, let alone the free agency movement.
That's a lot of coaching changes.
Yeah, it is, over 35%.
I never remember seeing that much movement in the coaching ranks.
A lot of movement, and that impacts fantasy football based on the style of offense or defense that they have.
Okay.
And then some key free agents that actually have impacted not only the fantasy value of the teams that they're going to, but the teams that they're leaving. So we're going to talk a little bit about Jay Cutler, for example. That was the last month and a half or so. There was a lot of discussion about how he was upset that they fired his head coach in Denver, and he didn't like the new coach, Josh McDaniels, coming on board, so they shipped him to Chicago. So the value of Jay Cutler now could go down in the fact that he doesn't have the wide receivers that he had in Denver, now in Chicago. So that's a good example of a quarterback that has an impact on his team. And then there's also Terrell Owens. Got to talk about T.O. and talk about the offseason, right? So T.O., who's on to Buffalo, probably left Dallas and the players in Dallas not as a good fantasy value as they would have been.
Okay.
Because T.O. was good for over a dozen touchdowns and 1,000 yards. So the impact that he'll have on the Buffalo Bills, definitely positive.
Were you surprised about that move?
Yeah, well, I think everybody was, and I know you were too, Russ. Right?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills weren't one of the teams that I anticipated going after T.O. It's just he doesn't fit their style, but they wanted to make sure that they get the weapons for Trent Edwards so that way he can make the next step in the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also Fred Taylor, running back, who left Jacksonville, and now he's playing in New England. So he'll probably have better value than he would have in Jacksonville because of Maurice Jones-Drew, and you know, now that he's the starting running back in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So free agency has an impact on fantasy players.
It's so interesting to me, all the strategy that goes into fantasy football.
Yeah.
I'm in love with this whole concept now. Okay, let's break down the draft.
Well, in the draft, from a fantasy standpoint, you want to be looking for players that are going to come in and make a big impact right away for you. And normally you're not going to get that at the quarterback position, but there's two quarterbacks that everyone's talking about, and the first one is Matthew Stafford from the University of Georgia. Yeah. He's a good-sized kid. He can be a little bit erratic, and he falls into funks when things don't go his way, but he's a natural at quarterback. He's got the big-time arm, lots of zip on his passes, reads defense as well. He's going to probably be the first quarterback taken. Now, the other one is Mark Sanchez from USC. Sanchez, again, just like Stafford, big-sized kid, great arm, makes all the correct reads, but he's only been a starter for 1 year at USC, so there's a little bit of question whether or not he's actually got enough experience to step in and help an NFL team right away.
And isn't there a question about how he's going to be able to handle this? He's kind of been thrust into this national spotlight now in a big way.
Oh, yeah, just like with Matt Leinart a few years ago, Mark Sanchez steps into the big spotlight in the NFL, and it's going to be interesting to see where he gets drafted, because he could go as high as number 4. He could end up dropping down into the teens in the draft.
Okay, and then last we wanted to talk about wide receivers.
Wide receivers and running backs, real quick on the running backs. You've got Moreno from the University of Georgia, and you also have Chris Wells from Ohio State. Running back is the position that most people that play fantasy football can expect to get good dividends from right away. You can get a lot of good value, just like we saw a lot of rookie running backs last year come in and provide great fantasy stats. You can expect that this year with some of these running backs.
Cardinals, and I know you're going to talk about it next week, but they could be looking for a running back, so keep an eye on these. You know, I would have thought that he was going to go to Philadelphia, but there's no way that, the Cardinals are not going to trade him to an NFC team. So there's rumors right now that Baltimore may be in play. But at the end of the day, I also heard Larry Fitzgerald in an interview, Carrie, this week, and I would not be surprised if he and Kurt Warner buck up a little renegotiation to keep Anquan Boldin.
Well, and we only have about 30 seconds left, but am I wrong here? My understanding was that part of Warner's deal was that they were going to secure Anquan.
Yeah, that was a big thing. He came back and said, look, part of my deal is let's make sure that we keep Anquan Boldin. So it's going to be real interesting going up to this draft.
What are you hearing? Any inside track?
As far as Anquan Boldin goes, I anticipate that the Arizona Cardinals are going to continue to try and negotiate with Boldin, but if they can get a good deal, they're asking for a first and third round pick in return for him. If they can get a good deal, they'll go ahead and they'll move him. But I think that they're going to try very hard to keep him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the city, in Arizona, for that matter, would be heartbroken to see this team broken up when we got so close last year. Okay, fantasy football gift card. Let's touch on this real quick.
Because there have been so many coaching changes, the first person that emails Jeff at fantasyfootballstarters.com as to who is the new offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator with the Arizona Cardinals will win that gift card.
Okay, I felt a little bit like Vanna White doing that. All right, one more time, the website?
fantasyfootballstarters.com. Check us out. We've got our free offer for any of the viewers that watch this segment. So just email Jeff at fantasyfootballstarters.com. We'll get you set up.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.